Starting in the left, position 1, an extremely passive game number 1, and nearly lost it in the next 2 matches, but he's pulled it back to once again be on the biggest map in any map pool. It is Liquid Ret.
And on the center right-ish side, I just don't know what else to say about this guy. He used like 20 carries in the first game, so he should have some new fans out of this. It is going to be Squirtle, and I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong here, Day 9, but the 2 games that Squirtle ended up losing was because of some questionable decision-making. Getting that many carriers,
yeah,
you know your opponent's going to get a lot of corruptors. And also, moving out that early without having proper scouting. A lot of people were pointing out on Twitter that, you know, Ret was doing a really good job avoiding detection, avoiding the observers,
yes,
not showing
absolutely
what he was doing. But Squirrel, he's still kind of moved out with everything a little bit early.
Yeah, you sometimes get that feeling of invincibility when you get Blink, because you know you can always just dart back, but Ret hitting an amazingly well spread out 3 angles to shut that down. Now, it is going to be not just Metropolis, but cross-map Metropolis, so this will absolutely be forced into a long-term game. I think of all maps, this is the one in these positions where it is a pretty terrible decision to go for that mega fast robo push. So it looks like Ret, though, not going to be doing any sort of hatch first play. Will go back to his pool first.
And the probe may have been able to deny that if he did go for the hatchery first play. I mean, it's pretty common for Zerg players to go spawning pool first, but sometimes you do see hatchery. Just got to make sure that the probe doesn't deny it, because that will put you on tilt extremely quickly, especially if it delays it by quite a great deal. Brings down the drone a little bit early. He doesn't have a whole lot else to do, so he can just focus on the micro here of the drone. Manages to punch it quite a bit here with some great control by Ret. Is he actually going to be able to kill off this probe? That was some of the best anti-counter probe action I think I've ever seen. Can he get the hatchery? That would be great, and he does. Ret just, he's got to feel like Iron Man or the Dark Knight or something after that control.
I know, that was, like, Ret just seems to play so well under pressure as of late. I mean, he's just finally managed to shake some of those nerve issues where we'd see him start to crumble and start to just go all in when he was behind. But now with that 1 hatch down, Ret will be certainly trying to go for his next hatch. Around 4 minutes, Squirtle looks like he is once again establishing himself up for a good standard. Very fast cybernetics core. I mean, anything that's Robo or Stargate opening based on this map, I like quite a bit. Twilight Council, I only really like if it's going to be some sort of 7-gate all-in-ish attack. So I would expect both players to be aware of how passive Protoss is going to be in this match.
We do have the double gas going down, kind of alluding to the fact that it will continue. Kind of the playstyle that we've seen out of him so far. And no, if you're just tuning in, this is not deja vu, as it is a repeat of map number 1. It is not the exact same game. We aren't doing a replay or anything like that, but the probes will be transferring down surely, and completely walls himself in again. And I gotta admit, I really like the fact that he does this. But you kind of were mentioning last time we were on this map, Day 9, that it kind of reveals, hey, he's not doing any super early attacks because he can't actually get out of his base.
A lot of Protoss players have just started to do that anyways. They'll put on a lot of pressure with 1 gate, make sure that they don't lose that 1 probe that's in mid-map, and follow it up with 6-7 gates, that sort of thing. But Ret, a little bit too good for that. Going to immediately send out that Zergling and try to take it out. But there it looks like Squirtle not actually going to be going for some sort of ultra-fast Stargate. He is going to be going gate, or warp gate, and then the sentry. And honestly, given his patterns, I would expect a +1 upgrade out of the Forge before I would expect a Robo play, but, I mean, looks like he has the money to do it, and there it is going down, so he might actually do the exact same build he did last game.
And the early +1 is something, I mean, we've seen it from Protoss for a long time, but they're finding ways to even make it that much earlier, able to get that before getting out any kind of unit. And that probe is kind of stuck outside the base, really wanting to get let in, but he's like the bigger, older brother who just locks you outside every single time and thinks it's hilarious. I never understood it, being a little brother myself, but regardless, it does look like the sentry is now out, and will also add to protecting that little probe out there. He's going to be stuck out there for quite some time, though, as we do have more and more drones on the way. As Ret, I mean, he's sitting back on these 3 bases. He's got a big banana grin on his face. Just needs to make sure not to lose to any crazy timings, because he's already won a big macro game on this map. So if he can force it into yet another big macro game, then he is going to be kind of playing on his home turf. All gases are now up for Squirtle, adding on 2 gateways. Still no real tech to speak of. The Overlord trying to slip on in there, but Sentry Micro, that's something you don't see very often. But I gotta try and take it out. I think
Oh,
I think
gosh. I'm sure, as everyone's been hearing through my microphone, I've just been doing gasps because it's times like this where I get so nervous when I'm watching, because right now we see Rhett. He is going for the layer. He is getting double gas right now. That's quite an early... Everything, actually. The only thing that's slightly delayed is the Roach Horn at this point. But look, there's the Zergling speed going down. Rhett might be and another Gas Geyser going down. Oh, Mike, I think he's going to be going Ling Mutalisk. And we see Squirtle preparing himself up to go for the exact same build that he did last game. It is going to be ultra passive. There is a small possibility that we could be seeing that all-in style play. Nope, not at all. Blink +2 en route.
Yeah, I want to know, is Squirtle going to do the same thing he did last game where he pushes out in the middle of the map? Might be more effective, though, if we don't see the crazy timing that we saw out of Rhett from that first game. He won't have that many units. What he does have a lot, though, is drones. 67 drones right now. But
and a
down
Spire.
goes the Spire. Yep. So a lot of Zerglings going to be out here as well.
Ling Muta from Rhett, and he has all 6 Gas Geysers up right now. And with this Zergling speed and the slow army of Squirtle, Rhett is going to be in good condition to just put a little pressure on that base, because it is a very, very wide open third. And look down at the bottom side, Rhett just spotting everything that Squirtle's trying to pull.
That pylon did get taken out with relative ease, and I think the probe got taken out as well. But regardless, he is going to know exactly what's going on. But has he been able to scout the main base? Just going to take a look at his vision. Hasn't seen every... No, he did actually see those 3 gateways there, so he's in pretty good shape. The only thing he hasn't seen is that robotics.
But I mean, if you click on Squirtle and look at Squirtle's vision, Squirtle sees nothing anywhere on the map. He's just moving an observer over for the first time.
And since it's such a large map, it can make you feel really uneasy. Zergling's got to move down here. Oh, are they going to get surrounded with sentries? Oh, he actually would have, but he did not want to take that risk. That was going to be a huge, huge risk, especially with the pylon right there to warp in a bunch of reinforcements.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome for him, but unfortunately was not meant to be, so he is going to back out here. What has Squirtle got on the way? He does have the first Immortal here, +2 on the way. What's it looking like for Squirtle here?
You know, it's going to be looking really grim for Squirtle. At first, I was like, oh, Rhett, what are you doing? You could have gone and killed off those sentries, but that's kind of like the logic of someone who's going to be going Ling Roach. You want to kill off the sentries to make those stronger. Right now, what Rhett wants to do is keep his Lings alive, so that way when he gets the Mutalisks up, he can be hitting at 2 places with maximum strength at once. And we even see Geysers 7 and 8 going down at that 4th base.
And the observer did spot that Spire. I'm not sure exactly where the observer ended up. He's hidden somewhere in the main base, but he does now know that Mutalisks are going to be on the way. And does he know just how many it's going to be? 12 are on the field, 4 more on the way, 11 drones on the back of this, +1 attack for air, and the 1 armor for Zerglings nearly done here. So you mentioned multi-prong attacks. If these Mutalisks fly into the main base, that is not completely undefended now. Squirtle has split up just a little bit. Or is Rhett going to throw all his units at 1 base at a time? He may do it. He may do it. This might actually work out because there's a lot of stalkers in the main base.
And it looks like he tricked Squirtle into expecting 2 attacks at 2 different locations at once. But here, everything's swinging in. The zoom in reveals that the sentries are taking some pretty heavy hits, but the Zerglings did get picked off on the opposite end of those force fields. Rhett unable to break through that 3rd base, but with Ling Muta, it's all about continued harassment, and Rhett is now producing 7 additional Mutalisks, 18 additional Zerglings.
But Squirtle has absorbed the brute force of the initial attack here. His army split up beautifully, and the Zerglings cannot run in the natural. Needs to not throw away a couple of Zerglings there. Does manage to escape. But right now, I feel like Rhett has definitely lost some of his momentum with Templar tech on the way. Archon's very good versus Mutas and Zerglings here. Rhett needs to be careful not to get stuck on this tech for too long. He says, I'm not going to, Husky. He has his Hive tech on the way right now, so he will have kind of a backup plan here. The +1 attack is nearly done here, which will make this a lot more effective. Cannon's going down in the main base, but I gotta say, Squirtle's execution and defense so far has been top-notch, losing virtually nothing, even blinking forward to save a pylon. And so right
just
now,
stunning control.
Squirtle being world's best boss, man. I would let him command my Protoss army any day.
But let's go ahead and just look at the expansion situation when you think about what was going on in Game 1. In Game 1, basically they took their expansions at the exact same pace. But here Rhett has gotten up 5 bases. He now has 108 drones. That way he can end up building around 20 spine crawlers, having saturated expansions, and if he's a little bit concerned that he delayed his spines too long, he can always use the Mutalisk to buy himself an extra 15 seconds.
Right, you are, Sean. The only thing he's got to worry about is his creep spread, but it is much better this game in comparison to the other ones because he doesn't get that many queens in comparison to a lot of Zerg players. That's kind of one thing I love about the recent queen. It's not recent. The queen change from a while ago. I slap myself every time. Is that you know, some players go for a lot of queens and some don't. Going now inside the main base with the Mutalisk is only going to kill off one pylon here. He could engage these stalkers directly, but does he want to take the risk? Decides not today. Is going to go ahead and back out here. He's going to start stockpiling a lot of money. Down go the spine crawlers. And day 9, we've mentioned it time and time again, it's very difficult to defeat a Zerg once they kind of dig their claws into the dirt and basically play defensive like this.
Now, if we look at the north side of the map, we see the Ling mutas moving up, but we also see Lings covering the expansions. No burrow yet down for Ret at this point, and he's still getting the chance to get his Corruptor mixture up. Squirtle is so focused on not dying to Ling muta that he is not going to be very well prepared for this huge step into Broodlord. Again, traditionally, you can make a push at around 16 minutes, but this is Metropolis. The distances are absolutely gigantic.
He is going to go for it, I gotta say, with working with what he's got. It's as good as it can get for him. The Mutalisk chilling out up here, and he says, you know what, go for the main base, because I'm going to go for your main base, Jugular, and it's got to be right before the Greater Spire. Are we going to see an anti-timing like we've seen in the past?
Oh, and it looks like in the main, where the Mutalisk are doing massive damage. At the third base, we see the Zerglings trying to run into the main as well, going to the natural, and there the Blink Stalkers are collecting outside the front a huge number of spine crawlers await them. There's the Fungal, and the Blink up the Blink Stalkers are trying to pick off these infestors as quickly as they can.
Fungal doing huge damage, but at the same time, it could be the anti-timing. 8 Broodlords on the way, but they're morphing in a very vulnerable location. The infestors need to not draw this army down here. The Broodlords are not hidden very well, and it looks like all the Overlords getting taken out.
Oh no! The supply block!
Huge supply block, 170 to 154. 8 Broodlords are on the way. I don't think it's going to be enough here. The Archon is going to spot it. All these Zergies on the way. They get stormed almost immediately, and all of a sudden, Ret looking to be in a pretty tight spot. The Broodlords are now out, but is it enough to recover from the damage he's already sustained?
The Broodlords are out. Where are the ground units for Liquid Ret? Squirtle has a huge army, but only one shot at winning this game. Liquid Ret's money is starting to slowly climb. He needs to reinforce with some sort of large unit, and there's the blink under. Squirtle manages to climb under, storming all of his own Stalkers and some of the Broodlords, but it looks like the timing from Squirtle is too good. Liquid Ret's front has been broken.
A devastating defeat here for Liquid Ret, almost defeating the GSL champion, but falling just short. Was not able to do the damage he needs to with the initial Mutalisk harass, was not able to counterattack ever in this game. Squirtle with a huge defense in this game. It was too much for Ret to handle, and there's the GG, the last game of